Chapter 13 looks at structural family therapy and some of the boundaries and hierarchies that exist within a family. Some of the learning objectives include describing why structural family therapy was created and the importance of boundaries and hierarchies in the approach, exploring the major theorist premises, techniques, roles of the therapist, processes, and outcomes, and describing the uniqueness of the approach. Structural family therapy was initially based on the experiences of Salvador Minuchin and his colleagues at the Wiltwyck School. The major thesis is that individual symptoms are best understood when examined in the context of family interactional patterns. Some of the major theorists include Salvador Minuchin, Braulio Montalvo, Bernice Rossman, Harry Aponte, and Charles Fishman. Salvador Minuchin was the medical director of the Wiltwyck School. He was the director of the Philadelphia Child Guidance Clinic, and he created the Institute for Family Counseling. He has written several books, including Families and Family Therapy and Mastering Family Therapy, Journeys of Growth and Transformation. Some of the premises of the theory: every family has a family structure. The structure is revealed only when the family is in action. Structure influences families for better or worse. It emphasizes the family as a whole, as well as interactions between subunits of family members. It recognizes the potential for coalitions, stable coalitions and detouring coalitions. A person's symptoms are best understood as rooted in the context of family transaction patterns. Subsystems, or small units of the system as a whole, exist to carry out various family tasks. Spousal subsystem, parental subsystem, sibling subsystem, they all exist here. Boundaries are the physical and psychological factors that separate people from another and organize them. They must be clear for healthy functioning. Boundaries, the physical and psychological factors that separate people from another and organize them, must be clear for healthy functioning, as just mentioned. Strengths of boundaries represented in structural family mapping systems. Clear boundaries, rigid boundaries, diffuse boundaries, triangulation, and alignments may all exist. Roles are the positions under which families operate. Rules are the behaviors first developed that may be adhered to regardless of the changes that have occurred within the family. Power is the ability to get something done. Dysfunctional sets, family reactions developed in response to stress that are repeated without modification whenever there is family conflict. Treatment techniques: joining, the process of coupling that occurs between the therapist and the family, leading to the development of the therapeutic system. Tracking is following the content of the family. Mimesis is the therapist becoming like the family. Confirmation of a family member, using an affective word to reflect an expressed or unexpressed feeling of that family member. Accommodation are adjustments made by the therapist to achieve a therapeutic alliance. Reframing is changing a perception by explaining a situation from a different context. Punctuation is the way a person describes a situation, that is, begins and ends a sentence due to a selective perspective or emotional involvement in an event. Unbalancing is the procedure by which the therapist supports an individual or subsystem against the rest of the family. Enactment occurs when the therapist invites client system members to interact directly with each other. Working with spontaneous interaction involves focusing the spotlight of attention on some particular behavior. Boundary making is helping the family create appropriate boundaries between people and subsystems. Intensity is changing maladaptive transactions by using strong affect, repeated intervention, or prolonged pressure. And restructuring is helping the family make structural changes. Shaping competence is helping families become more functional by highlighting positive behaviors. Diagnosing is describing the systemic interrelationships of all family members. Adding cognitive constructions are words to help families help themselves. For example, pragmatic fictions, pronouncements that help families and family members change. Paradox, confusing message meant to frustrate or confuse families and motivate them to search for alternatives. The role of the therapist as an observer, as an active expert or theater director, assuming responsibility for setting up dramatic scenes that show the family in action. Also, the therapist helps work through changing roles based on circumstance. The process and outcome: change occurs gradually yet steadily. It emphasizes action over insight. Families are given homework to do outside of the session. Successful treatment means that the overall structure of the family is altered and reorganized. It enables family members to relate to one another in a more functional and productive manner. Some of the unique aspects of the theory are its versatility, its emphasis on terminology, and the ease of application. It helped make family therapy as a whole acceptable to medicine and psychiatry. Its emphasis on symptom removal and reorganization of the family, and its emphasis on pragmatism and problem solving. So as you can see, this is a very practical approach aimed at restructuring the family, and it has been very helpful and widely researched as well.